This is an ordinary pipe called top rail. It's most commonly used in chain link fences and enclosures. On its own, it has a lot of features that make it great for those things, but today I'm going to introduce a new connector that unlocks the potential of this ordinary pipe and allows you to use it as an extremely capable and sturdy building material. Now, if you've been here for a while, this may not be news to you, but that's kind of the whole idea of Maker Pipe and our building system of clamps and accessories. We strive to make it easy for builders of all skill levels to utilize ordinary materials and turn them into amazing things, both practical and sometimes not so practical.
That's right. That's what we're talking about, baby.
We started in a garage 6 years ago with that mindset, and ever since then, builders have been turning ordinary materials like EMT conduit into all kinds of different projects. A lot of those same builders have reached out and asked us to expand the connector system to larger pipes and tubes for more demanding projects. Now, with that in mind, we set our sights on 1 and 3/8 inch top rail fencing pipe. Just like EMT conduit is readily available locally in hardware and home stores, it's galvanized steel and made to withstand harsh conditions. It's fairly lightweight, easy to work with, and also has some other cool built in features that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about the Top Rail T connector and its design features. It's made in our shop in upstate South Carolina. We make it from American steel and then coat it with a silver zinc coating. It's made up of two mirrored pieces that interlock together and clamp down on two pieces of 1 and 3/8 inch top rail pipe simultaneously. The two piece design is great for builders because it allows you to add the T connector anywhere you want along a pipe. This is especially useful with top rail because, as I mentioned earlier, it's most commonly used in chain link fences and other things. You may already have a fence in place around your yard or garden that you want to build off of. With this T connector, you could simply just walk up and connect to those existing fence poles and start building a canopy or garden trellis or really anything that you want off of it. Now, the T connector relies on a friction fit, which means you don't have to worry about drilling through the pipe that you're connecting. The included nut sits inside of this pocket here, so you don't have to worry about it spinning while you're tightening the bolt on the other side with a 5 millimeter hex wrench. Now, like all the other connectors, you can use any hex wrench that you prefer, but I found it best to use a ratchet and hex bit because it makes it really easy to torque down the bolt during assembly. Now, while we're on the subject, I want to mention that the top rail that you're connecting should stop before the bump on the inside of the connector. If this top rail sits too far inside and goes up that bump, then it's going to cause the connector to splay out more than it should, and you won't be able to tighten it down completely. With that said, the friction fit is plenty strong, but if you need extra strength, you can add self tapping screws through the pre drilled holes in the connector and directly into the top rail. This feature of the connector is a big help when you're working on large structures that have long continuous spans of pipe. That actually brings me back to another awesome feature that I wanted to mention about top rail. Now, typically, you can find top rail in 10-foot lengths off the shelf, which sounds like a lot, and I guess it is, but oftentimes fences need much longer spans than that. Because of this, top rail has a built in coupling. The end of the pipe is swayed so that you can insert it into another piece of top rail and pretty much continue your span forever and ever. This is a great feature that builders can take advantage of while working on their larger DIY projects. What excites me the most about this feature is the fact that the coupling is internal. This means that you could join two pieces of top rail together just like this and then add a T connector directly over the joint and reinforce those longer spans even more. Another benefit of top rail is that there are quite a few different accessories that already exist for it. You can get things like gate hinges, latches, parallel clamps, and more that will add a lot of possibilities to your builds. With all of this said, you can tell that top rail is great for a lot of reasons, but I wanted to mention something else really exciting. 1 and 3/8 inches is a really common outer diameter for pipes and tubes, which means there are going to be quite a few other off the shelf pipe options for building with these connectors. This T connector will natively fit 1-inch PVC, 1-inch rigid conduit, and 1-inch galvanized plumbing pipe, to name a few. You can use these T connectors with round objects that have an outer diameter of 1.315 or 1 and 3/8 inches. Anything below that is going to need a shim for the gap. Next, I want to talk about strength. When we launched the 1-inch EMT conduit T connector a while back, we did some strength testing to help you get a rough idea of what to expect from the various sizes of electrical conduit that our connectors work with. I wanted to provide that same information for top rail, so I did the exact same test as a couple of years ago, but this time with 1 and 3/8 inch top rail fencing pipe. If you don't remember the test from before, I built simple 5-foot wide tables with T's and conduit and loaded boxes of steel parts on top of them. Those boxes weighed roughly 30 pounds each. We found that pipes and tubes are more likely to fail before the connectors, so this test is good because it puts a lot of stress on the horizontal spans of pipe to see how much weight they can withstand before bending. After doing that first test, I added two simple braces to each of the tables and performed the same test again to see what a supported 5-foot section could withstand. Now, yesterday, I did the exact same thing, but with top rail and the new T connectors. I think the results are really impressive, but before I share those results with you, I want to remind you of what we found last time to give you some perspective. In the previous testing, I considered it comfortable if the pipes could hold the weight and potentially flex a little bit without leaving permanent damage or bends in the pipe. Now, just like I said in that last testing video, none of these numbers are meant to be recommendations or guidelines. You should always do your own testing based on your specific project needs and always keep safety as your number one priority when building. The unsupported half-inch EMT conduit frame held right between 90 and 120 pounds comfortably. With braces, the frame supported around 150 to 180 pounds. I still think that's really impressive for such a small pipe, but going up in size, the unsupported 3/4 inch EMT conduit frame held between 180 and 210 pounds. With the two braces in place, it comfortably held about 300 pounds of weight before bending too much. After those two tables, I tested 1-inch EMT conduit, and at the time, the results were impressive, and I still think they're impressive now. The unsupported 1-inch EMT conduit frame held between 300 and 330 pounds. With bracing, it held roughly 720 pounds comfortably. I still think that's great. But now that we've got those results in mind, let's talk about the top rail testing. The unsupported frame comfortably held around 15 or 16 boxes, which comes out to roughly 450 to 480 pounds. The brace structure, on the other hand, comfortably held 35 boxes, which is somewhere in the ballpark of 1,050 pounds. I think that's the max weight that I would personally be comfortable with putting on this particular structure on a regular basis. However, just for the fun of it, I did add 15 more boxes to see how the table would handle roughly 1,500 pounds. As you can see, it took it like a champ. We did something similar with 1-inch EMT conduit, and the sides of the frame were bowing out pretty severely, as you can see in the video. The top rail frame did have permanent bends in the top horizontal pipes after I took the boxes off, but overall, it took the weight really well, and the sides didn't bow and bend nearly as much as the 1-inch EMT conduit table. These results are exciting because now you can take advantage of another great off the shelf material and build really sturdy structures easily with simple hand tools. Also, remember that I tested top rail here. If you need a really rigid pipe that has a thicker wall, you could use this connector to take advantage of those other pipes that we mentioned earlier, like 1-inch galvanized plumbing pipe. With really rigid and strong pipes like that, you'll be able to push the limits of what's possible with these connectors. We're really thrilled to be offering this new T connector and hope you share our excitement. It's linked down below if you want to check it out for yourself. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.